Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I was at the local gas station where I work as a manager. The clock was inching closer to closing time and I was preparing for the usual lockup routine. The night was calm and I was looking forward to heading home soon. Just as I was about to start the closing procedures, in walked the mother of a former employee, whom I refer to as entitled Hose Beast, accompanied by her son, who I will call the entitled Hose Beast's son. Both of them had a reputation around town for being difficult, but I had never dealt with them directly before. They casually strolled over to the soda fountains, and that's when the trouble began. The entitled woman, whose tone dripping with entitlement, complained, "I want the Mountain Dew changed. It's out." I responded calmly, "Sorry, but I can't just get to the back to change it with people in the store." At this point, I should explain that our store, being an area known for issues with thieves, had a strict policy. Night shift workers like myself were instructed to stay at the front when customers were inside. The lady, not satisfied with my response, threatened, "We will see what your boss has to say about that." I stood my ground. "Go right ahead. He's the one that gave me the orders to not leave the front end when people are inside." But the woman was relentless. "Go change it." Her son chimed in. "Now." I replied firmly, "Nope. I don't take orders from you. Just because you know my boss doesn't mean a thing. I have the right under law to throw your asses out for trying to make demands." At this point, the son, in a clear attempt to intimidate me, started moving behind the counter. I warned him, "Take one more step and you won't like what happens." I subtly reached for the baseball bat tucked under the counter. The lady, seeing my action, sneered, "He'll do what he wants." I responded, gripping the baseball bat, "Not when it comes to being behind my counter, he won't." The woman, clearly underestimating the situation, retorted, "We can't do anything to stop him." With a baseball bat now in hand, I declared, "Actually, I can. I'm giving you both 30 seconds to clear the property line. Police have been alerted." I had hit the store's silent alarm during the escalation. "Anything happens to me, we'll have it on camera. Now get out and don't bother trying to come back again." The woman pepper sprayed me in the eyes and started running away, but their exit was blocked by the police units that had arrived in response to the silent alarm. The officers asked me to explain the situation, which I did, showing them the camera footage and filling out the necessary paperwork. Both the woman and her son ended up in handcuffs. The pepper spray didn't affect me much, thankfully, as she was spraying it randomly and not directly at me since she was in a hurry to escape and couldn't focus, but I still insisted on pressing charges. Been a while, Reddit. How's it hanging? It's been a busy summer in the Mindy's American fast food joint, and I've had many things happen that I could have written about, but this one takes the proverbial cake. We have a regular, a frequent flyer, if you will, an adult dressed as a child who has been coming in every day with a 40+ ounce cup to fill it up at our machines. For a million reasons, this is unacceptable. But it's also theft. He never buys a drink, just comes in to fill up at our machines. I tell him he has to pay. He can't keep doing this. He flips me off, smiles, and says he doesn't care about the police. I get his plate number, text it to my boss, but my boss says, "You can't call the cops, OP. And I can't for this, and won't for this." Okay, fine. Meanwhile, it just gets worse. And he now comes in with multiple cups, runs back to his very new Mercedes and drives off. Stealing is stealing, but something about this entitled prissy pants jerk driving a car way more expensive than my district manager stealing soda daily. I decided to hatch a plan so devious, so immature, so irresponsible that I kinda hate myself for thinking it up. I waited a couple days and decided it's time for some malicious compliance. Boss said I can't call the cops, but not that they couldn't be called by someone else. Yesterday, Prissy Pants came in with his cops, flipping me off midstream. I decided to use my Joe Exotic/Granny Hillbilly voice to say, "Help! Help! He's stealing a soda! He's stealing all of my soda! Help! Help!" This gets everyone's attention, including the two paramedics ordering their usual 3 p.m.-ish lunch. Participants sees one paramedic pick up their walkie to pretend to call in a theft in progress, which agitates him to the point of throwing a chair at me and running for it. I didn't expect him to flip out like this because maybe no one thinks paramedics can call the police. He trips, gets some minor abrasions, and is observed by the paramedics for a long time, long enough to let the cops show up and arrest him. The cops gave us a link to send video to, and I had the pleasure of ringing up 67 individual large sodas on one receipt to hand in as evidence, just over 200 quid. When adding the damage to our chair and window, it's more than enough for the police to move on this and impound this guy's pretty little car. And yes, the paramedics and I were in cahoots to get this called in without me calling the police. The paramedic was supposed to pretend to call to scare him out of here, but she really called it in evidently. Thanks for having our back here at Mindy's, you awesome ma'am. So the situation is complicated and I'm really torn about whether I'm the jerk in the situation. My husband passed away recently and we had this beautiful wedding jewelry set that was gifted to me by him. Now his family is pressuring me to give it back, but it's not as simple as it sounds. First off, the jewelry wasn't some family heirloom, it was a gift from my husband. He knew I came from a less affluent background and he always tried to make me feel comfortable in his world. The jewelry set was a symbol of our love and commitment, not just a shiny accessory. The real issue here is a strained relationship I've had with my in-laws from the very start. My husband was from a wealthy family and they never fully accepted me because of my modest background. They were always polite, but you could sense the judgment and subtle digs. Now, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are insisting that I return the jewelry set. They claim it holds sentimental value to the family, but I can't shake the feeling that it's more about their disdain for me than any genuine sentiment. I'm stuck in this moral dilemma. Do I honor my late husband's family wishes or do I hold on to this piece that means so much to me? The tension has escalated to the point where they are threatening legal action, and I'm afraid I might end up losing something that means the world to me. On one hand, I want to respect my husband's memory in our relationship, but on the other, I don't want to be seen as a villain in this family drama. So Reddit, am I the jerk for standing my ground and keeping the wedding jewelry set, or should I just give in to my in-laws' demands and avoid making a difficult situation even worse? And now with some comments on the post. Someone saying, you're not the jerk. You should contact a lawyer to be sure, but a spouse typically gets the whole estate unless a will says otherwise. Your jewelry is yours by right, by his wishes, and most likely illegally. You don't need to deal with them anymore. Cut ties and move on with your life. Another commenter adds, not the jerk. I think it holds much more sentimental value for you than it does for them. Just because your sister picked it up at the store for him doesn't give her any rights or any sentimental attachment. They are either being nasty or greedy. The third commenter goes with, not the jerk. It would be different if a family heirloom passed down multiple generations rather than a lavish gift to welcome you into the family they have zero claim or connection to. Ideally, there was a will, but that seems unlikely given this post. If there isn't a will or pre-nuptial, please hire an estate lawyer as soon as possible and buckle up for a bumpy ride. Best of luck and definitely fight them on jewelry, as I'm sure it means far more to you than to them. Update from OP. Thank you guys for the advice. The situation has been putting me under a lot of stress. It's even worse when trying to plan a funeral. My friends have taken some of the funeral load because of my health being at risk. I'm going to get a lawyer right after the funeral this Wednesday. Update number 2. I took your advice, guys, and searched through his study to find a receipt/invoice for the set. I found it in a file in his safe. It contains all the details of the purchase, including things that I didn't even know. I took it and the set and planned to give it to one of my friends so they can get access to it. By the way, no, my in-laws don't have any spare keys or access to our home. I have 8 feet wall around our yard, cameras and security system. We also have neighborhood watch chat just in case of any suspicious activity. Also, his will was read the day after his death. It stated that I was the sole beneficiary of all his assets. before and during our marriage. That includes our home, cars, investments, and so on. I come across sovereign citizens now and again, the kind who like to file bogus legal documents filled with Latin phrases and notarized with a red seal to make everything look official. These guys think legal terms are like incantations or spells. If you just say the right thing in a document, your legal problem magically disappears. Lawyers and judges hate these guys. They are super annoying. Years ago, I broke one of my rules and took on a case for a friend. It involved a family estate squabble where my client's brother owed him money. The sovereign citizen brother got his greedy hands on his father's money outside of the estate process by making himself a joint account holder with his elderly father on some bank accounts. Such a stunt is a definite no-no in Canada, definitely frowned upon by the court. But as far as sovereign citizen man was concerned, it was finders keepers all the way, and his fathers will be damned. I sent the sovereign citizen man a letter demanding that he pay, and he stuck to the sovereign citizen playbook. He paid my client with a check. That check was not your normal check, drawn on an actual bank account. Instead, it was some weird, crappy thing that he got off the web. The bank the check was drawn on didn't exist, and the check had all kinds of strange wording in fine print on the back. The thing about these sovereign citizen guys is that they have no notion of the consequences of the bogus documents and bad advice they get off the web. The sovereign citizen man made a huge mistake by sending me the bogus check. "Can I cash this?" my client said when I showed him the check. "Go for it, but tell the bank in advance that you know it won't clear, so they won't think you're pulling a scam." So my client cashes a check, and of course, it bounces with extreme prejudice. After the check bounced, we sued the brother for the money he stole from the estate. It was a short, simple lawsuit, just a few pages long. We served the brother at the house he owned, free and clear thanks to the money he stole from the estate. The guy had 30 days to respond, and on the 30th day, I received his defense, filled with the usual sovereign citizen nonsense. The defense also had a huge mistake in it, one of the biggest I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for a long time. The sovereign citizen man started harassing me and my staff. He sent emails, he sent letters, he left voicemail messages, he came by the office uninvited, demanding to see me and making threats. He kept it up until the cops said they would arrest him if he came by again. But by then, it was time for his court date. So I'm in court asking for a judgment, and a sovereign citizen genius is there, spouting legal babble, saying words he doesn't understand. The judge shut him down after about 10 seconds and gave my client judgment. The sovereign citizen man has a meltdown and is escorted out of the courthouse. Of course he appeals, but I don't care because of the mistake the guy had made right out of the gate. His mistake was serious and fatal. I don't know about other countries, but in Canada, if someone gives you a check and it fails to clear, you can sue for that. All you have to do is prove that a check written to you bounced. And that's all you need. The court will give you a judgment. So when a sovereign citizen man sent my client the bogus check, he handed my client an airtight cause of action and an easy win of a lawsuit. And of course, I pounced on it. When the sovereign citizen man's check bounced, my client sued him for that too, in a separate legal proceedings that we started on the same day as the estate case. The two claims looked almost identical, at least on the front page. My client's name was the same, the defendant's name was the same, and the court file number was identical, but for the final digit. When we served the sovereign citizen man with claim 1, the estate claim, we also sued him on claim 2, the bad check claim. I think he thought that the second claim was just a copy of the first because he only defended the estate action. On the bad check case, he didn't defend, and I had the full judgment after 30 days. A few months later, the sovereign citizen man wants to negotiate. He's feeling magnanimous, he says. And even though the estate case is under appeal, an appeal he said he was sure when he was willing to throw his brother a bone. He'd pay, but nowhere near the amount of the judgment. It was then that I informed him that we had sued twice. that I had obtained a judgment in the second action as well as the first, and now his home was completely tied up with the writs I had filed. "You better hope you win that appeal," I said to him, "because you're literally betting your house on it." The guy did his usual meltdown thing, but once he was finished with the screaming, we settled with him, sort of. He paid back all the money he stole from the estate, plus all my client's legal fees, plus some more, just for being a bit of a jerk and a sovereign citizen to boot. Later that year, he was at my client's house for Christmas dinner. Go figure. Families can be pretty weird. And now some comments on a post. Someone saying, "Sovereign citizens crack me up. I love watching court videos of judges just tearing them a new one. I saw a video of this woman, representing herself of course, where the judge basically says, 'You clearly don't know what you're talking about, so I am assigning you a lawyer.' She tells him, 'I don't accept that offer.' He tells her, 'Well, it wasn't an offer.'" Another commenter adds, "A sovereign citizen got a ticket speeding in an active school zone. I was on a jury and it was my first time seeing one of these guys. He insisted on a traffic violation going to a full jury trial. What a complete farce. He represented himself and both the prosecutor and the policeman who gave him a ticket tore him to shreds with logic and proof. Took all day. We, the jury, all looked at each other during deliberation, and I wonder if we broke a record with how quickly we all chose guilty." The third commenter goes with, "These sovereign citizens. I sometimes think that they are living in a cargo cult world. They can see that some people are able to do stuff/get away with stuff that they can't. And so they conclude that if they go through some mumbo-jumbo, they can get away with stuff too. Spoiler, people who get away with stuff are people who have money. Money for lawyers, money for connections, money for donations. Money doesn't make everything possible, but it can smooth a lot of roads." Over 20 years ago, I partly paid for university by working at 1-hour photo lab within a grocery store. For over a 6-month period, a grad student pro would come in about once every 2 weeks and drop off a roll of film for 1-hour processing. These were photos of some type of lab culture study he was doing for his master's degree. The man was always short with me and came back after doing 30 minutes of shopping demanding that I have his photos ready for him. I would explain that it's a 1-hour photo, not 30-minute photo, and there are other customers in line. I would also tell him what times he could come to the store in the future when I would probably get them done in 15 minutes for him. He was too entitled for all of this, and several times tried to get my supervisor to admonish me or worse. My last day of work at the store was on a Friday when the man came by towards the end of the day and said he needed his photos as quickly as possible as they pertain to a thesis that was due on the following Monday. I said that I would have them done for him before he got done with the frozen food aisle. I then dropped the film off in a locked lab box to be collected by an outside vendor who did 3-day processing. I turned the lights off on a lab, clocked out early and left into my future. I graduated 2 weeks later. I got a call from the store manager that night telling me that there was an irate customer wondering where his photos were. I said that he may want to check back on Tuesday when the photos are returned from the lab. The manager told me, "You're screwed up. His thesis is on the line." And then he rudely hung up the call before I could enjoy more details on how upset everyone was. Anyway, I proceeded on to law school that fall and have slept more than comfortably ever since. I sincerely hope that Science Pro is still out there to this day, roaming around the countryside looking for his 4x5s.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.